There's 1 minute left. I don't know if anyone is on the live as yet, but I will be starting soon. One minute to go, and then I'll get started. This is my first live. I think it would be a good idea to um, have like a lead-in video or something. I'll get there, right? Baby steps. Should be interesting. All right. Well, it's 11:30, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thank you either for tuning in live or for watching this after this has aired. Okay. I have someone. Bless Sivan. Welcome. Thank you for being here. All right. So this is my second attempt at live streaming. My first attempt was cut short with a power outage. So that wasn't fun, but I'm back again. And I have chosen to do these live streams for two main reasons. The first reason for me is always representation, right? And so representing for Black, female, older, I'm 40, mothers out there who are either trying to break into tech or are early career developers, and just to represent for those of us that maybe feel intimidated or feel like, how am I ever going to get this, especially if you're still learning or if you're trying to get your first job. And the second reason is it terrifies me. It terrifies me. And one thing I'm learning at this point in my life is to lean into things that make me afraid as opposed to shrinking back from them. And so, in spite of the fear, leaning in and actually doing what I'm afraid to do. And I find that it's in that place that I get my most growth, not even just as a developer, just in life in general, right? So today I'm going to be taking us through. I have a pull request up at my job, and I got a comment saying that I could refactor some of the code that I wrote. So there's a lot of repetition. And so we want to dry the code up, refactor that part of the code. So that's what I'm going to be taking us through today. I always like to say this. I haven't done this ahead of time. So, sometimes you may do like a dry run so that you don't mess up too much when you're live. I haven't done that, right? So I have no clue what I'm going to do. And I'm doing it that way so that if I'm going to make a mistake, I can make it in front of you and I can learn and you can watch me learn and you can also learn as well. And just get the message that it's okay to fail in public. It's okay to fail as long as you're failing forward and as long as you're learning, it's okay to fail. And once you get over the fear of failure, that's when your success starts. All right. So let's get into this. This is my first time live streaming. So if I make mistakes, just bear with me. And I want to share my other screen. Okay, good. So before I go into the code, I want to give everyone a bit of context. I may have some non-technical people on the live stream. That's fine. I'm glad you're here. Even though it's a technical topic, I'm going to do my best to make it as relatable to you as well. So the company that I work for Forem, this is our flagship product. It's dev.to, and it is an online community for developers, technical people in general, but mostly developers. Last week, I implemented a change in our navigation bar that you can see on the left side here. And so we have two sections for our navigation links. We have the default section, which is titled according to the community name. And then we have the other section down here. And so what we are working on now at Forem is we are packaging this software so that other communities can have something like this for their organization or for their community or their family. So it doesn't matter if like you're 4 people or 400, we have open sourced this software and we are providing it to everyone basically. And so the task that I worked on in my PR, which is right here, was when a new forum is created, we don't have any default navigation links. And so going back here, if this were a new forum, brand new with no posts, no content, this section here would be blank. And we didn't think that was very intuitive. We feel like we should have a couple of links that are standard. For example, the contact link, a code of conduct, a privacy policy, terms of use. These are links that we think should exist in all forums. Now, you could delete it, if you're the owner of the forum, but we thought it would be a good idea to have some default links. Okay, so let's go into the code. All right, so I'll walk us through. I know it looks like a lot. So in this file here, this file this file fires off, for lack of a better word, when a forum is created. And so there are certain tasks that are defined in this file that need to execute when a forum is newly configured. And so the task that I created, and this task is to create new default navigation links for a new forum. This is the task right here. All right. And so I put that in this forum.rake file. Now, this is my actual task in this file right here. And so this is not part of the live stream, but I just want to show you. And so I have this task. It's a create task, and it is creating 5 navigation links. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right, so I'm going to collapse that because that's not what we're focused on for this live stream. This is the part that I need to dry up. All right. And so if I go back to dev.to, you see the icons next to the link. So we have this home icon and we have this file cabinet icon. Those are the icons that I have defined up here: reading, contact. Now, we need all of them because they are being used in other tasks down here. But this is the part that I need to dry up, basically, because if you see, there's a lot of repetition. I'm repeating this file.read. I'm repeating this, this path to the SVG that will form the icon, right? So that's the part that I need to dry up. So typically when I'm drying up code, I make sure to identify which part of the code is repeated. So it's clear. We have this entire part here that is repeated for almost all of these icons, except the name of the SVG file for the icon. And it's true for everything except this down here, which, as we can see, the SVG file is not inside the Twemoji, the Twemoji folder. I don't know who named that. Anyway, so the rainbow dev.svg is not inside the Twemoji. So it's actually in the images, which is, I guess, the grandparent for the other SVGs. Okay, so that's good to know. So off the top of my head, I'm thinking I'm going to create some local functions, some local methods in this namespace that I can invoke to define these icons, because these icons are used. Let me show you in my tasks. You see here where I'm creating a reading list navigation link. I set the icon here, right? So that's where the icons are being used. So let me go ahead and get started. All right. So I'm going to call it, let me just call it image path. Typically when I'm building a feature, I don't allow myself to get distracted with what I'm going to call something, or those other details. I make sure to get functionality first, and then I can always go back and refactor. A lot of times, I think for early career developers, we tend to code in our head a lot, and we don't get our code out. And it's when the code comes out that you can actually see it, and sometimes ideas come to you. But if you're still up here, then it can mess with your ability to get your stuff out. I know this is also important when you're interviewing, and either you are pair programming with your interviewer or you're whiteboarding, right? It's very important to just get things out of your head, at least for me. Maybe there's people who know how to code in their head, but I'm not one of them. So I typically just get everything out, and then I can go back and fix mistakes, and I can refactor. So I have here image path. And so I'm creating this function to basically spit out for me this right here. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it. In Ruby, typically, like I know in JavaScript, you might have to do a return here. In Ruby, you have implicit return. And so the last thing operated on is return by default. So that's why I don't have the return keyword. So I'm returning this, and this changes. The SVG part changes. So I'm going to turn that into a variable. Did I say variable? A parameter. Okay, so let me say file name. Okay, and I'm passing that in, and then I'm going to change this. I'm going to do okay, file name, and this is how we do it in Ruby. Okay, all right, good. So that works for, and so for example, for reading icon here, I could just copy this, and it's the drawer SVG. So, and I just pass in drawer SVG, right? And that gives me pretty much the same thing. Okay, all right. So that works for all these over here, right? So this method works for all these, but then we come to this outlier, which the SVG is not in the Twimoji. And so I'm thinking, is there a way to have the same function for both, right? And so I was reading up on this earlier, and I came across, one second, let me just, so basically what I'm thinking is I would like to be able to call, it would be nice to call the same function for everything. Image path works because we've hard-coded Twimoji, right? So that works for all these SVGs here, but the rainbow dev.svg is not in Twimoji. So I would like a way to pass in Twimoji into this path if it's applicable, right? And then we already know that we're going to pass in the name of the SVG file. That is constant throughout, but the Twimoji is not constant throughout. So I'm thinking of a way to pass in Twimoji if it is applicable and not pass it in if it is not applicable. So we could use the splat operator. And so the splat operator in Ruby allows you to, if you're not sure the number of parameters that you're going to pass in, then you use the splat operator, and then you can do something with it, you know, once you pass it in. So let me try that and see if that makes any sense. So up here, I'm going to say, maybe paths, or I don't want to say params, because params comes from the URL, right? Like when you're dealing with routing. So, but then it doesn't make sense to say image path and then paths. I know that's what's tripping me up, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so and so down here, so if I pass in Twimoji and the file name, then I want it to concatenate here. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to make it, let me think, paths, and I want to concatenate it with the slash in you know, like I want to join them with the slash. So I'm going to say join with the slash. Okay. And then I get rid of this. I don't know, why do I have this? Unexpected, why? Oh, my bad. I think this goes here. Okay. Right? No, I'm wrong. Why are you giving me an error? Is anyone chatting with me? No. Feel free to jump in if you have an idea of what I'm doing wrong. What am I doing wrong? Let me see. Where is my mouse? Okay. Oh, I know what it is. You're gonna laugh. I know what it is. 1 second. It's because I'm using a double quote here and I'm also using it here. So it's confused. Okay, all right. That's what it was. So typically, like when you have two double quotes, okay, see, the error has gone away. Oh, no, it hasn't. Why are you complaining? Let me see. I don't understand. Oh, my bad. Okay. So the star in when you're passing it into the method, the star indicates that you're using the splat operator because you're not sure how many parameters you're passing in. But when you actually use it in your method, you don't include the asterisk. So that was the mistake I was making. And I was also making the mistake of typically when you open with like double quotes, the next double quote encountered closes, you know, that expression. And so by using double quotes with the slash, that, you know, I was confusing the code. It wasn't sure where do I start, where am I ending? Okay, all right. So okay, so we have image. Okay, so now if I pass in, so over here I pass in image path, and this will just, you know, the way I have it set up now, let me delete this. So the way I have this set up now with image path, I'm just passing in drawer .svg. The problem though is it's going to just add drawer.svg to the end of the images slash here, but that isn't actually the correct path because there's twimoji. And so what I then do is I also add twimoji here. Okay. So I'm passing in both. And so that's what the splat operator allows you to do, because now in this case, I'm passing in two. So it's going to concatenate this with the slash in between them. And then the path hopefully will be correct, right? Now, there's a way that I can test this before I go ahead and make all the changes down here. So I'm going to copy this method and I'm going to go into my Rails console. So let me go into that. So now I'm on the command line and this is my Rails console. To get to your Rails console, you just type Rails console or Rails C, and that takes you in. So I have that open in another tab. So let me just reload. Okay. Now I'm going to create that method here. I'm just going to paste it. Okay, so I have access now to the image path method. Now I'm going to go and copy this here. Okay, so I'm invoking the image path method and I'm passing in twimoji and I'm passing in drawer.svg. Okay, and I'm getting back an SVG. This is an an SVG file, and I'm just going to trust that it is it is the drawer. And I could always compare, but I'm not going to go through that. I'm thinking if I could. No, it's okay. I'm just going to trust that that's the drawer. I mean, I could, you know what? Why don't we just do it? We're not doing much, are we? So let's go to assets. Let's go to images. Let's go to Twimoji. And let's say drawer. Okay, so this is it right here. And let me copy. I should be able to see this. That's the funky thing with SVG. It's like actual code, right? So you don't see like an image unless you have like a translator of some sort. But I could look and see it was 2094, 202, 12C, right? Does that look right to you? 2094, 202, 12C. Okay, all right. So I'm just going to trust that it fetched the right the right SVG. But that was just a way to test it in the console. Now let me test it with, remember we had, my bad. Remember we had the one that was just rainbow dev. So let's test. So this is not in the Twimoji folder. So let's test it with that as well. So we pull up image path and we just pass in the rainbow, right? We're not passing in the folder before it. Okay, and we're getting an SVG back. I am just going to trust that this is the rainbow SVG. The key thing is I'm not getting like a blow up, like I'm not getting like a crazy error or anything. Okay, so that makes me satisfied. All right. So now all we need to do is just, and I'm going to do it. You know, I know that there's like different like shortcuts and tricks that you can use with VS Code. I haven't learned all of them, so just bear with me. But I'm going to go ahead and just replace. Yes, I know I'm doing it the slow way. I will get there, I promise. Okay. Okay. So, you know, one of the benefits of doing things this way, and this is really why we are really encouraged to write dry code, and dry means do not repeat yourself. The reason for dry code is it really minimizes the chances for errors. And so typing out all those file.read sentences, like it's so easy to introduce some kind of error somewhere. And so by abstracting it into the method that we did, we end up typing less. And because we're typing less, we can probably catch errors much sooner than not, right? So I think that's one of the cool things about dry code is it allows you to do that. I'm just going to get rid of the dot freezes at the end. Okay. Okay, we good? I think so. Awesome. All right. So so we've done that, and then we just need to do the same thing for our rainbow. And we just need the image path, and we are just passing in the rainbow.svg, and we can take out the dot freeze. Okay. Okay. I think that looks good. Good enough. I mean, you could always, I'm sure I could refactor this even more. I'm sure it's possible, because now it's like, oh, we have this Twimoji, and we're repeating it all here, right? So how can we? I mean, we're still going to repeat it, but why not? Let's just see if we can dry it up even more. So I guess I could create like a Twimoji method, and I'm passing in I guess the file name, right? And then this is returning for me. I'm actually going to invoke image path, and there's going to be Tweemoji and file name. Let's see. Do I want to pass in the raw file name, or let me just say image. Okay, so then I'm going to let's do this. Right? I mean, why not? Sometimes I think some refactoring is like overkill. Sometimes, right? Okay, so now with all this Tweemoji stuff, I can just replace it with Tweemoji drawer. I don't know if it's going to work. No, I can't. It has to be a string. Okay, so this is what we're doing, y'all. We're going to go through this again. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to push this up for code review, and I don't know. Another engineer could be like, oh, this is overkill. But I mean, since we're refactoring, we might as well just refactor, right? Take it all the way to the end. And like I said, I'm sure there's a quicker way to do what I'm doing. Sometimes I find that when I'm trying to find the quick way to do something, I end up spending more time than if I had just done it like the slow way. So I'm very sensitive to that. All right. Now with the rainbow, we're not going to invoke Tweemoji because it's not in the Tweemoji folder. So we're going to leave that as is. So let's just, let's copy this. Okay. Okay. Now the last thing that we're going to do after this is we are going to run our tests, because I wrote tests for this file that we are in. And so we are going to write, okay, great. All right, I think everything looks good, right? So Tweemoji, image path Tweemoji, then image path, paths. Okay, I think everything looks good. In this case, I don't know, see, because now we're passing in like the .svg. I think that makes more intuitive. Can we go back? Can we just go back? I think that makes it makes more intuitive sense to pass in the name of the image, right? With the .svg. You know, I think I'm just being a bit too clever, right? I think this makes sense. Okay, so why don't we go back to Rails console just to test? And we didn't reload, so we're still there. So we have the Tweemoji method, and then let's just do Tweemoji drawer.svg, and just to see kind of what that looks like. I hope y'all can still see. Okay, now we did drawer up here, right? So let's see. Yes, you see the 209, see this right here? And we called it again down here, and we have the same thing. Okay, so the Tweemoji method looks like it's working. All right, so the last thing that we're gonna do before I let y'all go, thank you for coming, is we are going to, these are the specs that I wrote for this file, this rake file. So we are going to run these tests just to make sure that we haven't broken our tests, right? And so this test is basically this, it's testing the create action, which is the create task, rake task. And the first one here is expecting this, expecting this rake task when we invoke it, we expect it to change the count of navigation link by 5. Right? So that's the first test. And then the second test, we're going to destroy all navigation links in case there's any in the test database. Then we create one navigation list, and it's the reading list navigation link, I'm sorry, and it's the reading list one. And so our test, if we invoke our rake task, because we already have the reading list existing, we expect the rake task to change the count of the links from 1 to 5, right? Because we created one. And the reason I have that test in there is so that we're not duplicating links, because that would be a problem, right? So I just wanted to walk you through the test file. So why don't we grab the path, and we are going to go to our command line, and we are going to run that test. Now, with the changes that we made, I'm not expecting anything to break, but you never know. So it's going to take a minute. If any of you have any questions, you can write it in the chat. Okay, good. Everything passed. So we have 2 examples passed, 0 failures. Awesome. So I can go ahead now, and let me bring myself back. Okay. Okay. All right. So yeah, so I was successful in refactoring all those files that were being invoked. I'm just going to go ahead and commit my changes and push them up to GitHub and get my teammates to review my work. So that's it. I wasn't going to do this for very long. Thank you all for coming. This is going to be recorded on YouTube. So there's going to be a replay of this stream on YouTube. And I'm planning to do this. I don't want to commit to like a time schedule yet, but I'm planning to do this pretty regularly, typically just showing what I'm working on. I don't really have any side projects. I don't have any time for side projects. But yeah, just showing what I'm working on. It's not so much teaching, although you probably learn something from what I'm doing. But the point is not necessarily to teach, but really just to show almost like a day in a life, what I'm working on, how I deal with issues, how I figure out what I'm going to do, how I test what I'm doing to make sure that I'm getting back what I hope to get back. So it's really just for transparency and for representation, and to conquer my fears of coding out in the open. So I hope this helps you that attended, and those of you that are watching afterwards. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.